Hello, and a very warm welcome to this creative collaboration session. I'm Charlotte Abrahams. In this virtual format, we're keeping our community engaged and inspired, bringing together designers and industry insiders for some really wonderful conversations online. And today I'm delighted to introduce Stefan Tolgar, the award-winning interior and product designer. Joining him are Simon Brown, who leads operations at the Refined Workshop, and Jessica Barrington, who oversees the firm's artisan capabilities. And by the power of technology, they're zooming in from the factory in Slovenia today. These webinars shine a light on creative collaborations. And today's session, Collectible Design, Artistry Meets Engineering, is aptly titled. And from the comfort of our armchairs, we're going to be going on the most wonderful journey into the world of marble. Simon, Stefan, Jess, welcome.
Thank you.
And this is the first time you've collaborated together. Two brands, both rich in expertise and ideas, but very different. Tolgar is a design studio, and the Refined Workshop is a pioneering stone mason. Why did you want to work together? Stefan, perhaps you'd start from your perspective.
I think, for me, recently, I've gone from the macro to the micro, so concentrating on products instead of the interiors, and seeing what the Refined Workshop are capable of doing. I would say that there's probably no one else I would rather work with when it comes to stone than them. So I've known Jess for a long time, and it was just that kind of chance meeting of discussing what she's doing, what I'd like to do, and what Filippo, my product designer, and I are doing together, that made us really excited about working together.
Okay, and Simon and Jess, I don't know, Jess, you go first. Why work with Tolgar?
Well, Stefan is a master of proportion, and he's really well known for his sort of pared back, luxurious look and feel of the objects that he designs, and for this sort of statuesque ability to turn objects into kind of functional sculpture. That's really the thing that many of his designs, his furniture designs, have in common. And that's an idea that lends itself perfectly to stone. Okay. So he was a really obvious choice. And obviously, also we have known each other for a really long time. There's a sort of a mutual understanding, a kind of collaborative process that we've had in all the things that we've done together over the years. It's very exciting.
And Simon, as the person who has to kind of make it happen, what for you was the appeal of this collaboration?
Well, for us, Stefan promised to give us a challenge and make life hard for us, and this is what we like to do.
Okay.
I think to do something worthwhile, to challenge us, to progress our capabilities, to develop new abilities is really important for us. I think that produces worthwhile work, and we have really, really enjoyed the process so far.
Yeah. Exciting.
I think actually the first time we met, Filippo, myself, Simon and Jess sat down, working with other manufacturers in the past, there's always been limitations. There's always been, well, what can we do? What can't we do? Or, what are we allowed to do? What can we send you in terms of ideas and concepts? And Simon rather kind of nonchalantly kind of said, well, we can, just send us what you think. And we started pushing in terms of questions, we could look at that, we can make that happen. So that's what makes you even more excited, about pushing boundaries. So that's what we've done.
This idea of pushing boundaries, that seems to be something that, you both sides share. Was that the kind of main inspiration behind this?
Well, it kind of became, so Filippo and I always have ideas that we talk about in terms of shapes, in terms of concepts, but the idea of actually challenge, create a design that is making the impossible possible, creating or designing something that is really hard to make. That was, that came from Simon's inspiration. He thought, okay, we'll shut him up. We'll make sure we'll do something difficult enough.
Yeah, I was possibly a little bit too brave, but we did have a few sleepless nights. But in the end, ultimately, we've had a difficult challenge. Up until today, it was very difficult, but once you complete something, the difficult thing becomes an easy thing, you know, because it's now in our repertoire and it helps us produce things in future.
And is that sort of it? Would that be possible without collaborating with someone else? I mean, is that really why you collaborate with an external person? Jessica, is that the kind of why you look outside?
So. We need someone to push us, you know. A lot of designers can be quite timid when they're using stone and when they're playing stone. So yeah, we need someone to be brave and someone who has fantastic ideas that we're sat in front of now.
Yeah, interesting.
I mean,
sorry, Jessica.
Oh, sorry, I was going to say that Stefan, I think it would be fair to say that Stefan has a very good understanding of materials, but in order to understand how stone works and understand the conventions of what are produced in stone, you need real expertise. But it's actually exciting to be pushed by people who perhaps don't necessarily think about what the limitations might be.
Yeah.
So, and I think
that's sort of rule breaking, because you don't actually know that, you don't know what the rules are particularly. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
even though, funny enough, I started many years ago to start studying engineering. That was where I started, and got frustrated because I realized I wanted to be far more creative. So I think in the back of my head, I always try to have an understanding of limitations and so on. And maybe that holds me back sometimes as well. But it was Simon's attitude that was so brilliant. You know, it was okay. Well, see what, you know, throw us what you got. You know, let's see what we can do.
Fantastic.
And that really helped us.
There's a really strong sort of storytelling thread, and I know that's very much part of both of your brands, but in this collection it's there, and it begins right in the quarry, doesn't it? Jessica, there's a really interesting story about this French quarry. Perhaps you just give us a little, quick overview of that history.
Well, in terms of the collaboration, I mean, I think the decision on what material to work with was again a collaboration, and the sort of difficulty of the pieces doesn't just lie in the kind of they're very technical pieces, really difficult to achieve, but also we've managed to alight on a stone which is incredibly difficult to source, and in fact wasn't available for many years. So it comes from the southwest of France, and it's got a wonderful history. It goes back to Roman times. It formed part of important kind of Byzantine palaces and so forth, and even it was popular sort of with great decorators of the Art Deco period. So Émile Jacques Ruhlmann used this stone that we've used at the Great Expo in 1925 in Paris. So it's kind of a sort of seminal moment there. And then the quarry shut, because the material wasn't available at that point in commercial quantities. And so it shut. And it's only very, very recently reopened. And you've seen sort of dribs and drabs of accessories, sort of objects in this material, but we've been lucky enough to source an enormous block.
How fantastic.
Oh, it's wonderful. So it's not only is the quarry reopened, but we've managed to source an incredible piece of material. And that's what we've made the decision to work with.
Okay.
Difficult to work with. It's very difficult to work with, but that's also part of the challenge.
Yeah. Simon, tell us about how you select the stone. And we've got a lovely picture of it, and we can see how incredibly beautiful it is. But, you know, you're faced with the stone in the quarry. How do you choose which piece?
Well, there's probably three elements to it, really. The first being the aesthetics of it, what it looks like. Obviously, Stefan to like it. We've got to imagine how it's gonna behave as well. Another thing is the dimensions. Can we produce what we want to produce from it? In this particular case, because we've found such a large block, Stefan's decided to make a really large table. So you're absolutely pushing it to the limits in that case. And when you're looking at a block, you've obviously got to check for structural integrity. You know, there's no point in trying to make something out of something that's essentially beautiful, but it's going to cause you problems later down the line. You know, so you've got to make sure you're limited to how many fissures, vents, cracks, and it's going to be you're going to be able to fabricate from there.
So does that structure of the stone, and forgive me if this is a dim question, but I'm an amateur here, but does that affect what you can do with it? So did you have to see the stone and then decide whether you made a table or a chair, or or
some materials are more problematic than others. In this particular case, it's very brecciated stone, so you can see in that close up, you've got lots of broken pieces that almost look like they've been a conglomerate pushed back together, but that's what's happened in the earth. It's the stone has been pushed under pressure, under heat, it's come apart, it's been pushed back together again. So you always have those sort of weaknesses in marble where things have moved. This particular stone, yeah, it's difficult. Most stones have got their own unique difficulties about them, but again, you've always got to look at the individual block, because each block is unique and can cause you problems or give you benefits.
Incredibly beautiful. I mean, it looks, this close up, it looks like a painting, or it's just extraordinary. And how old is this piece of stone we're looking at?
Millions of years old.
Incredible, so incredible. Sorry, I was like lost for words by the thought of that. It must be an amazing moment when you sort of first set your hands on it. And this is a quarry of where the prototype stone has come from.
Yes, correct.
Tell us about that.
Well, Simon can probably tell you better, but we are sitting right now in the offices of the quarry. So this picture is of the quarry out that way to Simon and my left, and we've found this beautiful stone to make the artist proof from. We've secured this block of the Grand Antique, the amazing stone that we're making the collection from, but we need something to make the artist proof from. So this is the local stone here, which we actually completely fallen in love with today, because today was the first time we got to see the artist's proof. And,
wow.
And we are a little bit in love with it. So.
Yeah, it's beautiful stone.
Yeah.
Is it, and another, when you say you're making the artist's proof, and obviously this stone that has to behave in a very similar way to the stone you'll make the final piece from, and this shares that, does it? This.
Yeah, it's a similar characteristics to the stone we're going to produce from, because obviously making this artist's proof is slightly exploratory. We've done lots of calculations, so we understand and we're very confident that's going to work, but we need to see something in flesh. We need to see proportionally how it behaves, or Stefan does. And we need to make sure it's structurally sound.
And I think, Philippa's and my design was always going to be, we're often paired back when we design together. We don't like details for the sake of details, or kind of adding intricacies to a design. So this is, for me, this is the kind of definition of functional sculpture. This is a collection which kind of survives as sculptures as well as pieces of furniture. But the amazing thing is what goes on behind the scenes, because the aim was for the design to feel very calm and very simple. You can kind of just make out, I guess, in the camera, this curve, which is it's called the wave collection. So this curve follows, and the connection over here to the kind of base element, and that was the connection of these two materials kind of slotting into each other, and kind of gravity doing its thing in order for it to kind of stabilize, was kind of one of the ideas behind it. But to make that look simple and look easy ain't so easy at all.
So tell us a bit about the making process, and some of the sort of, as you say, the magic that goes on behind, because as you say, these pieces absolutely belie the complexity of their making, don't they? Yeah. And we've got some pictures of the process, so perhaps as you talk us a little bit through how you do it, let's have a look at those.
With this particular design, obviously, there's no way this could be made from just solid stone for it to behave in this way. So it needs to be strengthened. It also needs to be The weight needs to be reduced as well to make it practical, and it also needs to be safe. You know, it's still a heavy piece of furniture, and you know it can't fall over. It's got to be braced. It's got to be supported. We've got to accommodate the thinness of these waves and these conical items on the cylindrical items, I should say, on the end. So it's a difficult thing to do, to then hide all that technology within the actual model itself. And you know, we're not trying to advertise what's underneath it, if you know what I mean.
No, that's part of the magical ingredients. But you know, that's when engineering meets art, meets furniture. To you know, I could never, you know, Philippe and I dreamt this idea up, and but we need someone like Simon and the Refined Workshop to be able to actually make it. And it has been an absolute joy to see today how the puzzle fits together. You know, what started with a sketch and then became a 3D model, which you will probably see later on in the pictures. It's nerve-wracking for Philippe and I to kind of to take the step today and see it live, because you know, you think 3D modeling is a way of ensuring that you know what you're going to get, but you don't. It's a 3D model on a computer screen still. This is a physical piece that this has a tactile quality that whatever computer drawing you create, whatever render you make, cannot really translate.
No, and this is the first time you've laid hands on the physical piece.
Yeah. It was earlier today. We weren't even sure that it was going to be finished to the point which it is. So my knees were almost buckling. I was kind of walking through the workshop, kind of waiting to see it, not knowing where it was going to be. And then suddenly they kind of whipped this cover off, and then there it was. So, and the first thing I did was, funny enough, run forward and touch this curve, because the connection of the curve and the cylinder is so amazing. But that kind of almost kind of tablecloth kind of wave that it has.
It's really extraordinary, that, because you're right. It looks like, it doesn't look like stone. It looks like fabric and soft. What, you know, why did you want to do that?
I think, you know, for us, we always have brainstorms about what we wanted to do, and I think that we wanted to kind of have a juxtaposition on everything. So to take something that's very heavy, very strong, like marble, and add a softness to it. So to actually to have these soft curves was something we wanted from the beginning. And then the other thing was to kind of literally turn it upside down and put in a really interesting design detail on the bottom of the table. You know, the table, the part that no one looks at, but to make it really strong in profile. The wave just kind of did it, you know, in terms of having this incredibly functional piece. This is the console, but you know, there's a dining table as well, and as well as other pieces, and to have this very functional top, but this very beautiful kind of underside, you know, makes it perfect as the functional sculpture.
Yeah, we've got some pictures of some more of the. I think they're renders, aren't they, that we're looking at, because it's also new, and we can then see, you know, the whole piece.
Yes.
So just talk us through each of these as we go through.
So these are the two dining tables. They're in the, you know, the renders are in the Grand Antique, which is the stone that we were desperate to use. And you know, the renders are a tricky thing, because at this stage when we produced these, we were pretty sure about the design. The proportions, the kind of surprise element of the curve, and so on. And we were very pleased with the result of the renders, but it's still so nerve-wracking when you then get to see that in live for the first time. And if
is this the console? Did you say? Sorry, or the dining?
No, so these are the two dining tables. Okay. They are very large pieces. The top one with the 3 bases is we're hoping to squeeze out 3 meters if possible, which we think will be possible. The other one is just slightly smaller than that. And then the console, I think you'll have on the next page. If we move along, that's the console. Okay. So that's the piece that we're sitting at right now. But in the picture on the screen is the actual stone that we're using.
There's such fluidity to it, which is presumably why you call it wave. And I mean, not only is it that, you know, that they're so complex and yet they look so simple, but they're the solidity against that extraordinary softness and fluidity is, I mean, it's really beautiful and extraordinary.
I love this is the bench, so it's kind of as long as the console, but lower, and we added another structural element to be able to sit, you know, people can sit on it. But I think that simplicity in the design, yet with a really complex kind of interior or kind of magic behind it, that is what made us really excited. So I think, you know, it also feels, I think the cylinder with the wave, the connection that they have, where they perfectly slot in, works so well for me, because it feels like the gravity is kind of has a helping hand in terms of locating it and securing it, and you know, which is part of the narrative and the magic.
And Jessica, for the Refine workshop, is this very different from other things you've done in the past?
Well, it is. We do lots and lots of beautiful finishes in stones. So your bathrooms and your kitchens and your hallways and incredible staircases and so forth. And of course, we do also a lot of work which is carved from solid stone. But in the past, with some exceptions that probably Simon can tell us about, they tended to have been sort of pieces like baths or basins carved from solid stone. So this is another, I mean, I suppose the extra dimension for me is the fact that the piece starts to reveal itself as you make it. And that's sort of where it kind of elevates to the level of art, I think. So it kind of belying all the modeling and the very complex technical work behind the scenes. Ultimately, the stone is what the stone is. And you're only going to see what lies inside of that enormous block as you start to carve away at it, and kind of reveal what the veins are on the inside. So, I mean, I think that's what really makes it different to the work that we do on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah. Oh, exciting. And this prototype that you're sitting at now will be at Focus, so people can come and see it. Yes. When are you expecting to have finished product?
Oh, well, we have a rather tight deadline. So I think this is Jess's department more than mine. So she'll crack the whip and make it happen, I hope.
Well, yeah, I will do my best. Unfortunately, there's not a lot of whip cracking to be done because everybody very, very focused on having the prototype here with you in London for Focus,
Fantastic.
but then developing the collection, or certainly elements of the collection in time for Frieze London, which is barely a month later. So we'll have all of those pieces in the Grand Antique, ready to show people in mid-October.
That's very exciting, but not as exciting as having the world premiere at the Design Centre.
Exactly.
And you know, having made the impossible possible by your not by magic at all, by craftsmanship and skill. Do you plan to? What are you going to do next? You're going to work together again? I feel that you must really.
Well, Jess was threatening and saying that she doesn't like working with me at all, so I'm not sure if it's going to happen or not. But Philippe and I have loved this because it's very rare that we have someone that, like I said before, that embraces the kind of difficulty I feel that often when we pitch ideas, there's a lot of teeth sucking and going, ooh, don't know if that's possible, you know, not sure. And you know, the collaboration that we've had, the four of us, you know, talking on a weekly basis and pushing design along has been absolutely a joy. So if it was up to me, we'll do another go for sure. If not,
okay.
Not
Simon, do you agree?
Absolutely. Honestly, I'm really proud to have been part of this and producing this. One of the most beautiful things that we've ever done as a company. I think
really,
it's amazing. And as I said, it's very difficult at the start, but as soon as you know how to do it, as soon as you develop those techniques, it becomes easy. So I look forward to the next challenge.
I feel like we're kind of X Factor judges. So it's a yes from me, it's a yes from you. We're sitting next to each other. Is it a yes
Jesse,
from
you have the casting vote.
It's a yes from me as well.
Okay, fantastic.
So we are committed, aren't we, to producing this first edition in the Grand Antique Stone, and then I guess we'll see where that takes us.
How very exciting! Well, you heard it here first. Thanks so much, and it's just very exciting to see the prototype or the artist proof, you know, there with you as it's unveiled. Thank you for joining us from Slovenia, and we look forward to seeing it in the showroom.